Anime is quite a refreshing form of media that features a wide assortment of genres to satisfy virtually any group of people. Do you prefer shows with fighting sequences? Perhaps the ones with a slice of life yet romantic feel? Or maybe something with a sci-fi taste? Well, there are some amazing anime series that can more than satisfy any taste you might have. Before we dive in, please be sure to subscribe to TheGamer and ring that bell to become a member of our notification squad for more sweet anime and video game content. Without further ado, here are some must-see anime. Dragon Ball Super. Let's kick this list off with the simple yet nostalgic trip to the world of Dragon Ball. Even those who have barely watched anime or Dragon Ball in general may know about the badass fighting sequences and the intense yelling from the characters to transform into Super Saiyans. Arguably, Dragon Ball is one of the forefathers of anime's popularity within the United States, and it inspired other shonen anime series like Naruto, One Piece, and even Bleach. The original Dragon Ball series, which depicted the main protagonist, Son Goku as a kid, debuted during the late 1980s. The iconic sequel, Dragon Ball Z, surpassed it during the early 1990s. Although Dragon Ball isn't exactly a complex or consistently written series, it sparked a huge fanbase, and due to that, Dragon Ball Super debuted during 2015 to continue Goku's journey to becoming the strongest fighter alive. Super has recently concluded with the epic and long drawn-out Tournament of Power arc, which makes Frieza's 5 minutes seem like a godsend. Fortunately, there will be a new film continuing the franchise during this holiday season, where Goku will be facing what seems to be an ancient Saiyan warrior. Regardless, this is one of the easiest and most simplistic anime series to get into, and the fighting sequences are quite entertaining. One Punch Man. Although the original Dragon Ball series was quite comedic, it primarily shifted its focus to serious and intense fights, with the later series putting the humorous elements underneath. However, One Punch Man is a unique twist within the fighting/superhero genre, since the protagonist, Saitama, decided to trade his hair for immense power. One would think Saitama would have had to do some ridiculous and vastly strenuous training to become strong, but no. All he did was 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and run 10 kilometers every single day. Unfortunately, although Saitama obtained what he wanted, he was unable to enjoy it due to the lack of the thrill, as seemingly every opponent he faced was easily dismantled with casual punches. Throughout his journey to become the strongest hero, he eventually meets his student, the cyborg Genos, and the innocent-looking but crazy powerful Tatsumaki, the Tornado of Terror. The fight scenes are quite refreshing to see, but the comedy is out of this world. For instance, Saitama would be more concerned with making it to the local grocery store for the bargain sales than to do actual superhero work. If you want to see a guy literally one-shot giant crabs, mole people, or space emperors, then this series is worth a watch. Halo Legends. One probably wouldn't expect a video game to actually merge with the complexity that is Japanese-style animation, but during 2010, the addicting and widely popular Halo series decided to tell stories outside of Master Chief's battles against the Covenant in style. Several big-name studios worked alongside Bungie to bring in 7 tales with different perspectives. One could argue that this isn't really an anime, but the animation, art style, and moments within the episodes are quite reminiscent of other anime series. For instance, Prototype tells us of a UNSC soldier who struggles to come to terms with his own humanity, which led him to enter a super mech prototype in attempts to save his squad. For those that have watched the Gundam series, which popularized the concept of giant mechs duking it out, you may spot the obvious reference within Prototype. The backstories of the Spartan 2s, their rivalry with the ODSTs, and even the origins of the Flood Parasite and the mysterious Forerunners are explored within Halo Legends. A sci-fi video game anime hybrid is not a common sight, but come on, anime and Halo? You can't go wrong with that sweet combo. If you're a fan of Halo or space shooter games in general, this might be a good place to start. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Ever wake up and feel like you've experienced something again that you did in the past or may have false memories of? Well, Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash explores a world where the users don't realize that they're in a video game. But even so, the concepts of life and death are very real. For those that have played the immersive and widely popular World of Warcraft MMO or similar games with the ability to choose a class, that's just one of the video game elements within this anime. The story follows a group of teens who, for better or for worse, have to learn to coexist, improve upon their combat abilities and skills and survive or perish. Within this world, there are no respawns, and life is as precious as it is to take it from the enemies within the game's world, which helps the heroes become strong enough to move on to higher places. Although other anime series on this list encompass dozens to hundreds of episodes, Grimgar has a short first season with about 13 episodes. It does take a few episodes for the story to really pick up on what really makes it a cool watch, but the cooperation between contrasting characters and World of Warcraft vibes make this a unique entry on this list. Terror in Resonance. Terrorist attacks are no laughing matter, but neither is the government hiding vile acts upon the human race from the general public. The series starts off with two seemingly normal teenage boys who have an agenda on their hands to uncover the truth about who they are and where they came from. But to do so, they're forced to take drastic measures which get world governments, the FBI and the like, to work together. They do eventually come out of their shell and put their trust in outsiders, which heavily impacts the story and plot. Now, we don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say that the series, albeit short, is very emotional, with an intense soundtrack and superb voice acting. While the other anime shows on this list deal with giant mechs dismantling alien armies, super powerful martial artists beating the crap out of each other, or killing trolls to learn mystical skills, this series is very realistic in comparison. Be sure to have some tissues handy, because this isn't a series you'll be able to watch without shedding a tear. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Before you start typing away, yes, Avatar is not really an anime series due to it being produced in the United States, but one cannot deny that its artwork, storytelling, and fighting sequences are very anime-esque. This series ran during 2005 to 2008 on Nickelodeon and developed a large fan base and even a live-action movie, which is very lackluster and shouldn't be compared with the original series. Seriously, please, just don't watch it. The plot deals with Aang, an airbender who had been given the task to bring balance to the world and to purge the evil intentions of the Fire Nation to extinguish the Earth and Water tribes alike. Across his journey to realize his potential as the Avatar, he's joined by Katara and Sokka, two members of the Water tribe, and even Toph, a blind girl who looks harmless but is quite tough. Within the 3 seasons, the series is full of amazing characters, romance, adrenaline-pumping fight sequences, and a beautiful soundtrack to top it all off. The reason this series is on this list is not because of its anime tropes, but mostly because it's a hybrid that combines an American cartoon with the strong influence of Japanese-style artwork. So, if you're quite acquainted with American cartoons but aren't familiar with anime as a whole, this might be a good way to dive into the anime world. Samurai Champloo. By far, one of the most unique anime series on this list comes in the sweet combination of hip-hop and samurai slicing up their foes. What's not to like? The series begins with two outcasts who are both trained in the art of dueling with katanas, albeit in heavily contrasting ways. Their differences and rivalry gets them into the same frying pan, which forces them to work together and eventually meet with a teenage girl who's in search of a particular samurai who smells of sunflowers. Mugen and Jin, the two aforementioned samurai, develop a friendship alongside Fu to travel across Japan to seek their meaning within life. However, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, since they were met with assassins, mercenaries, police, and even legendary swordsmen in hopes of acquiring a bounty from wiping them out. Regardless, the series has a wide array of comedic circumstances, some history lessons about feudal Japan, and its English dub is arguably superior to the original. The soundtrack is compiled from the work of Nujabes, Fat John, Force of Nature, and much more. If you're into chill storytelling with hip-hop elements, then be sure to give this a watch. Food Wars. If you've seen those cooking shows that entail harsh critics, intense competition, and dramatic matchups, well, there's an anime version of it, but with vastly more ridiculous premises and hilarious results. The series follows a young chef, Yukihira Soma, in his goal to become the best chef and the #1 within the Elite 10. Although his progress and skills at first allowed him to impress even the most harsh critics and instructors, he found himself encountering several other young chefs with skills rivaling his own and even encompassing other unique attributes. The best part about this anime is not only the heavily dramatic tasting sequences where the food testers would literally become naked or have the ingredients leach onto their bodies to show how intense their foodgasms were, but also the intense competition which pitted similarly skilled chefs against each other, making not only the critics, but also the audience unsure of who actually won or by how little the opposing side lost. However, one drawback about this anime is that it'll make you very hungry due to the immense detail that's put into the food itself. So be sure to get some snacks to avoid your mouth watering. With the 4th season recently debuting, there is plenty to catch up on. JOJO'S Bizarre Adventure. Another gem in the anime world that combines otherworldly powers, awkward moments, and intense battle sequences is what JOJO'S Bizarre Adventure is all about. It might be too much for the surface anime enthusiast, but it's quite unique. The series entails Joseph Joestar, alongside other members of the Joestar family, to face off against supernatural opponents using their stands, which are abilities that allow them to perform impressive feats. Some of them allow the user to increase their speed, physical strength, or even permits them to move if the concept of time itself is erased. Talk about overpowered! Several time periods are explored within this epic, which has been ongoing since the late 1980s. If you want to have plenty of chapters and anime arcs to binge, this might be a good place to start, but your sides will be hurting throughout it all. Death Note. Whenever someone asks what anime to recommend for first-time watchers, Dragon Ball may be one of those responses. But Death Note's complex and dramatic plot is sure to get people vastly more interested in it. What would you do if you had the powers of a god of death and could decide who lived and who died in order to encompass the world with a false blanket of justice? High school student Light Yagami becomes the owner of a Death Note, a supernatural book from the realm of the Shinigami which allows the user to write the name of a person to have them succumb to a heart attack or perish in otherwise vastly more gruesome ways. The book itself has many rules, and Light masters how to abuse them throughout the story and becomes involved in an intense and long mental chess match against L, a vastly reputable detective who suspects Light from the very beginning. There are quite a few twists and turns, and the vast rivalry between Light and L is entertaining to see. Two immensely intelligent youths meeting their match is not something you see every day. Since this series has been out for over a decade, you might have already been spoiled as to who lives and who dies, but regardless, it's still a great watch and arguably one of the best anime series of all time. There you have it. Is there any series on this list that heavily interests you into exploring the world of anime? Any series not on this list that you'd also recommend to first-time watchers? Let us know in the comments section below, and subscribe to The Gamer for more awesome content. Thanks for watching.